Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. As you know, we've been diving into all the best Bitcoin DeFi protocols and everything happening in that expanding ecosystem. So today we welcome a special guest, and that's Hakan coming to us live from New York. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Thank you, Alex, for having me. I've been actually following your channel quite for a while, and thanks for the opportunity.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to talking about everything that you guys have got going on in your whole ecosystem as you're trying to scale Bitcoin. But maybe to start off with, what's your personal sort of background in tech and how did you get into crypto?
Absolutely. So I think everyone kind of has a story, right? So my story started back in 2017 when I was doing basically import and export, basically as a trader. But I was actually having some difficulties in, sending my own money from my own account to another account that of my own in another country. So I was back in China at that time, and just sending like a few $1,000 actually was super problem for me at that time. It took me like more than, I remember the last one was like more than 2 weeks. The bank was asking me to come and write a petition, and the reason why I'm sending it my own money to another account of mine,
Yeah.
so I had to do that, and then charging me a huge amount of fees. So basically I was actually fed up with all this that I've been having, those problems for a while. And then I started to look for alternative ways, and then somehow I found Bitcoin, and then read a few articles. Of course, at that time it was not that easy to comprehend. There were not educated videos and relevant articles, and then I started basically mining and trading, and then found myself in the space basically doing building projects. So since 2000, at the end of 2017, basically I've been building projects in the crypto space. That's how I started.
Awesome. That's interesting you mentioned China. We might circle that back to that a bit later when we talk about the future of crypto and everything that's happening geopolitically at the moment. But I guess what drew you to the Bitcoin scaling ecosystem? Because this is something we've been covering for probably 2 years now, saying this is going to be a big part of this cycle. And there's still, I don't think, a lot of awareness of the scope of things that are happening and stable coins, and a lot of the DeFi stuff that came to Ethereum is now coming to Bitcoin. So I guess what drew you to want to develop in that space?
hmm So we always considered Bitcoin as an asset, right? BTC, but nothing was happening basically on Bitcoin network itself, though it is the most secure and the BTC itself is the most liquid asset. And Unlike Ethereum, Bitcoin network basically is not meant to be for smart contracts, complicated applications, just peer-to-peer payment system. This is how I got involved into crypto, actually, just for payment reasons, and then found myself in the crypto space doing project. So we have been actually in touch with miners, big whales, and those institutions that are kind of investing at that time. But unfortunately, using their assets, they were not able to kind of get engaged into any DeFi activities. They were just buying it with or keeping and holding the asset with the expectation for of the price to go high and then sell, buy it low. That was kind of the game that they were playing, and but nothing else. Unlike Ethereum, where you can basically using smart contract do a lot of DeFi activities, right? Have a kind of have a yield on your asset. It actually, my journey started back in 2018 when we first built one of the earliest Bitcoin L2s with the name ChainX. We have actually achieved at the peak time 100,000 Bitcoin deposited on chain. 2000 at the end of 2019, basically onboarding miners and big whales, allowing them to have yield on their assets. But because of the technical difficulties and the regulations back in China, it was actually not safe to continue. So we had to kind of stop the bridge. And then 2021, basically a few years ago, with the Taproot upgrade on Bitcoin, we have launched BVM, basically combining a few technical elements, and then basically we have formed our own mechanism through which we are basically providing the most decentralized and secure way of using Bitcoin and getting engaged into DeFi activities. So that's
Awesome.
how we.
So our audience is, I guess, broadly familiar with some of the different types of Bitcoin layer twos and the technologies, and we've spoken about side chains versus Lightning Network and layer twos. So I guess what's your technology model for people to understand at home, and why did you decide to go down part rather than others?
So BEVM is an EVM compatible Bitcoin layer 2. Why is EVM? Because there's a maturity on the Ethereum side. There are thousands of protocols that have been running for many years, and also a lot of like millions of developers are building. So there's a maturity back there. Hopefully we want to utilize, and inviting also developers, project founders to come and build on the top of us as well. We are an EVM, so basically just by using Solidity, you can launch your protocol on BVM as well. So we have, again, the most important thing is if you want to bring liquidity into L2s, and that's actually one of our slogans on back on my T-shirt. Is what it's written is bringing 10% of Bitcoin into L2. That's the slogan and the target we have. So if you want to achieve this, we need to understand who are the main who are the target audience, who are the people that we're targeting. So miners, right? And whales that are sitting on top of huge amount of Bitcoin, and now institutions, that came through ETFs. And how can we convince those people? I'm not sure if you have, I'm pretty sure you guys are, doing podcasts and have a chance, talk to different people in the crypto space. Those, Bitcoin holders have different mentalities, compared to any others. So the security is always first, and in particular those miners and big whales. If you do not provide them a secure and a decentralized way of doing things, they will not come, they will not actually put and deposit like tens of thousands of Bitcoin of theirs into the address that you basically provide. I mean, that's not wise either. So we basically utilized, a few technical elements that were introduced through Taproot upgrades back in 2021. So imagine yourself as a kind of regular Bitcoin holder or Bitcoin relevant asset holder. You're depositing your asset into the Taproot address, and where there is 1,000 custodian. In the past, it used to be only 15. So now that we basically increase it to up to 15, actually up to 1,000 people that are protecting the address, right, on the Bitcoin network side. And on our side, so there's 1,000 validators with stake their Bitcoin to become validator. So in between, we basically use Schnorr signature aggregator. I don't want to be too technical, but just to name them at least, so that the audience could understand the elements that we actually combine, what we name Taproot consensus. So Schnorr signature aggregator, which basically saves you gas and also time, aggregates all the signatures and put into one block. So it's exactly the same amount of gas and the same amount of time that you spend as one. And so by this way, we are not relying on a third party. Everything is in a decentralized manner. That's how we actually convinced the largest BTC player, which is Bitmain. I'm pretty sure everyone is familiar with Bitmain, and either as a user of their machines, right, through which you basically produce Bitcoin, or some have heard, on different events and platforms. So we're the only Bitcoin L2s that they have invested and actually back. So we've got the major player, and we're very proud of that. This actually really matters for us because, again, this is where the liquidity is coming from. It took us 6 months to basically, after having many rounds of technical meetings, and finally we actually did this. Yeah.
Yeah, well done on getting the backing of Bitmain. Like you said, the security being the number one priority. I think that's kind of the whole spectrum of people we talk to, from the Bitcoin purists to other people that are taking the early Ethereum approach of move fast and break things. And that's fine. Like, both are good for the ecosystem long term, but we've seen, Alex Labs run into trouble recently. So people want to know that their Bitcoin or Bitcoin tokens are safe at the end of the day. And I think that's why we're still so early in this cycle, because we're not going to see those TVLs really skyrocket and get to 10% of all Bitcoin until it's really battle tested. So what stage are you guys at now? I know you had your Canary testnet, and how's your roadmap looking, and how's the progress going?
Sure, we're already on mainnet. It's been a little over 2 months since we launched the mainnet. and currently like a few million transaction already, like 800,000 active addresses on chain. We have 30 plus projects that were built on the top of BVM. Again, as I said, we are EVM compatible, and um, anything you can do on Ethereum through smart contracts actually now possible on Bitcoin as well, like on BVM. Having the Bitcoin network security and Bitcoin's liquidity. So basically, they're still on the main network, whereas the transactions are happening off chain on BVM. So we're not basically occupying any block space. It's faster, more secure. So we are now, where our main focus is as to grow the ecosystem and kind of create awareness, because that where we're mostly having difficulties, right? Letting people understand that it is possible to build on the on on Bitcoin now. So we're doing a lot of events, basically organizing hackathons, doing like educative videos and podcasts, just like we're doing now with you. So and increasing the number of developers basically coming to Altus and build, together with us. We're a team of 35 people. That is basically increasing day by day. We're still raising with it's round A. We already onboarded more than 30 VCs. That's actually another good thing. We have seen huge interest from the VC side as well. They know this. It's one of the popular narratives for the past year and a half.
Yeah.
It's easy actually, and it's not very hard to kind of get funded. But what really hard is to bring liquidity and convince those big players and kind of grow the ecosystem. So yeah, we are happy to onboard the largest player, in the Bitcoin ecosystem, and kind of could convince projects to come and build on the top of BVM.
Fantastic. Yeah, we've continued to hear that. We've talked to all these different projects that have either raised or raising, and there's huge interest from VCs and retail. But for those people at home that want to get involved in maybe your ecosystem, whatever you are allowed to say in terms of airdrops or tokens and other projects, is it just a matter of getting in there and trying them out, or do you guys plan on having your own token and that type of thing, or how can people get involved if they're interested?
Absolutely. So yeah, we actually will have our token, but we haven't issued yet. It's going to be around like October. So for those builders, basically any crypto enthusiasts who want to better understand, BVM, not only BVM but Bitcoin L2s, they can definitely follow us on different social media platforms. We have launched two different campaigns, like programs. The first one is what we called Visionary Builders, that kind of giving grants, both financial and technical support to those builders who want to come and test it out and come build on the top of us. We have deployed $60 million worth of basically tokens to be given to those builders. That's the first thing. If you are one of those, please come and apply for that on our website, bvm.io. And another one is our community is converting into DAO. So DAO is just something that I really believe in, like a decentralized autonomous organization, where community actually decides what to do next. So we basically left the future of BVM to the community's hand, and we allocated 3% of the total supply to those people. Those community members who want to who contribute to us. Imagine Arbitrum, what Arbitrum DAO did. The way, I'm pretty sure you guys also kind of participated, became part of it. So it's actually a similar way. The more you contribute to BVM, the more airdrop opportunities that you will have. So we're using third-party platforms. As soon as you're engaged with us, you're part of our Discord, AMA sessions, podcasts, do content for us, with us, build together with us. You basically will have more chance to get more airdrop. So that's kind of incentives that we're giving to both builders through Visionary Builders program that we deployed like $60 million worth of tokens. At the same time, we allocated again another big amount of tokens for our future community members.
Fantastic. In terms of what you'd like to see happen in future, as well as, I guess, as you said, the DAO and the community taking over the reins towards more decentralization in future, or what are you excited about, or where would you love to see it all going, maybe in this cycle and then super long term?
So we have I mean, for those who have been in the space for quite a long time, we know this. There are like hype times, and there are some popular narratives for each cycle. People usually, not most of them, but we see a lot of projects, people just coming with the hype, either as an investor or just project co-founders. But this is actually not one of those. We have seen the hype of NFTs, which I still believe in. I believe in it's a very good tech, and we will be using it integrated into our real life,
Yeah.
metaverses and a few other popular narratives from the previous cycle. And then now we are basically almost not talking about them at all. But Bitcoin is different. We are talking about the main pillar of blockchain, right? This is how we kind of got to know blockchain technology. So, but we couldn't utilize anyhow for the past, I would say, 15 years. Now we're building the technology, and we see the money is also coming into Bitcoin through ETFs, and that will increase. We see the basic involvement of institutions. In terms of the builders, it's increasing. So this is not a kind of narrative that will end, in maybe 2 3 years or only for this cycle. So that has a future and potential, and it has basis. I mean, again, those are the reasons that I just mentioned. So again, if no matter whether you're a builder or community members or any regular crypto enthusiast, I really suggest you to first understand what Bitcoin is presenting us, the opportunities we have had, because there are a lot. So we need to have another session to talk about the opportunities, in particular for that, for builders, for enthusiasts, crypto enthusiasts. But I really suggest you. I think creating awareness is very important, and what you do is very valuable. And through your podcast, people are better understanding what is going on in the space. I really suggest people to, join our Discord group, and then better understand what we're building and what is possible to build in the coming years. And my expectation that will actually more involvement and more developers increase in the space in the coming years. We're not talking about far future, but near future. We already have started seeing it over the past few months, and that the speed is increasing day by day. So super happy to be part of the Bitcoin ecosystem, and very exciting time actually waiting for us.
Yeah, I guess in terms of Bitcoin itself, a couple of things I'd love to get your thoughts on. So I think that a few of the big drivers of this cycle that are different are the ETF that's going to lock up a lot of Bitcoin. And those more mature and smart money investors tend to be longer term, particularly as these big funds reallocate, 1 to 3%, BlackRock, whatever they put their customers in. They're people that are looking for retirement longer term. So that takes a lot of Bitcoin and locks it up. We already know there's not many coins floating around on exchanges and that type of thing. And I think the fact that you can borrow stable coins against your Bitcoin in a meaningful way through a number of these Bitcoin different layers or projects now, I think that's less reason to sell, particularly for the big whales and whatever. So any thoughts on those two just for Bitcoin in terms of why I think it can still go a lot higher? And I don't know if you want to give any price targets or speculate, but I think that's going to be a really big driver.
Absolutely. I'm actually not. So I'm not a trader, and actually, the price doesn't matter for me at all. I don't look at the price. I'm just building this space. But what I can say is, we have limited number of Bitcoin. Do not sell. So those people, those big back holders, institutions that we're basically talking to, I was just together with them, like Fidelity, a few people from basically Goldman Sachs, and a few others. Basically, they're like super, how to say, bullish on that, and they're every single day. We have just seen like 2 days ago, the reason why the price hiked again, like more than $800 million worth of basically Bitcoin were purchased, right? And they're coming very strong. We need to better manage our psychology, so we shouldn't just daily follow the price. Actually, if you're not trader, I'm not a trader, but just if you're a long-term investor, just buy and keep it,
Yeah.
because again, that's the future. That's the actually the main pillar of blockchain if you're a fan of it. And I personally think that way. I never look at the price. I'm a long-term investor, and just keeping it in my wallet. And now it's possible to get engaged into any DeFi activities. Just you mentioned, you can borrow against your Bitcoin, and then like do staking. I don't know, like, can you do borrowing, lending, any DeFi activities that is possible on Bitcoin, so on Ethereum, now is possible on Bitcoin network itself. So I think that's a very big opportunity, and that's also now we have more reasons why to keep Bitcoin in our wallets rather than trading it.
Yeah, and I guess circling back what you said at the very start about China. So maybe people that have got in later don't realize how big an influence China had in the really early days. They were one of the main, I guess, places to mine, and also just that retail interest. And then it got cracked down on, then the exchanges got cracked down on, and mining and so on. But I think it's now to the point where I have this thesis around geopolitics globally that China or Russia, these other powers, they can't afford to let America be the really dominant player and let all the American companies and governments and pension funds and retail investors end up being the ones that own all the Bitcoin and enrich their citizens while the rest of the world misses out at every level there. So any thoughts on that as Bitcoin becomes that global currency and I guess a bit of a commodity as all these superpowers want to have their basket of oil or gold or foreign reserves? I really think that within a couple of years, every country is going to need to hold Bitcoin in terms of some reserves.
Hmm. I lived in China 9 years, for 9 years, basically from 2015 all the way till last year. So I spent most of my youth back in China, and so in the past, before the regulations 3 years ago, mining was basically not only but mostly in China. Like I would say, more than 80%, 90% of the mining
Yeah.
was happening in China. And if you're a project owner, or want to launch anything in the space, basically the first place you go is to China to meet investors, those big whales. This is how Vitalik from Ethereum did, and those this Polkadot Gavin Wood, Cosmos. Basically, most of the project founders first went to China back in 2015, 16, 17, and basically talked to investors and how they got funded. But it's definitely changing. We know there's governments also do hold bitcoins like China, US, but we only know partial. Of course, we cannot. We only know those actually were revealed and kind of announced. So that will definitely increase. I personally believe the central banks definitely will be part of that. If not now, maybe in the coming years, but that will happen. And actually, again, like with the signals coming from governments, like regulations, are kind of implying this. So I personally do not have doubt on that.
Amazing, amazing. I will put all the links to follow you yourself and the project down below in the description for everyone at home. But is there any final thoughts or anything we haven't touched on today that you think is important?
Sorry, I couldn't hear. Say again.
Is there any final thoughts you have wrapping up for people at home?
No, thanks for having me. I mean, it's really a very big pleasure to talk with you. I enjoyed the conversation with you, and really suggesting all people listening to and watching this podcast to kind of deep dive into the possibilities. It doesn't have to be BEVM only, but overall, there are a lot of opportunities in the space. We need to get engaged into articles. We need to read more articles, and listen to different Twitter Space events we organize on a weekly basis. We really hope to have more people on our sessions, and also do kind of video content just like you do. This is like super important. This is actually the most important part of actually what we're doing. So that's a kind of responsibilities for us as well. So we're kind of incentivizing people to come and join, not only us, but anything that actually like happening in the space, whether you come as a builder or regular crypto enthusiast. There are a lot of things to do, and this space itself is presenting many things, but we probably most of the people are still not aware of it. And we're basically opening the gate to the end, and what we're saying is we're calling out all people who really want to build, and want to benefit from those opportunities. Just you can come to our Discord, follow our Twitter page. We make this a lot of announcement on a daily basis, and it's super easy, just completing a few tasks, and then learning together with us, building together with us. So that's actually my call to all those listeners.
Fantastic place to wrap up there. So thanks so much, Hakan. I wish you guys all the best. We'll have to have you on again in future. And it's a pretty exciting time as we head into, I think, a super cycle for Bitcoin and Bitcoin DeFi. So we'll talk again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Alex.
Cheers, guys.